Good morning. We are now commencing the Learn on Air program, which the prestige group of institutions is going to embark on. The first of these sessions is on leadership. And what is leadership? What will you learn after having been through 30 or 35 sessions? You will go through a lot of activity. You will understand what is a leader. You will understand and how to develop the leadership mindset. You will know how to build effective teams and what is a teamwork and what are collaboration skills. You will prepare students for professional studies, for professional civic sense, for professional attitude, and for professional perfection. What is it that you will do? You will also strengthen communication amongst your students. You will strengthen the ability to interact, not just amongst themselves, but with seniors, with peers, with everywhere that you will go. And believe me, at the end of the program that you are attending, you will come out understanding what is a leader, how many kinds of leaders exist. So let's begin. Module 1. And this is about foundations. How are we going to establish what is a leader? Let me ask you, in this world today, and this is something very topical, I'm sure all of you understand this, we have 3 or 4 major leaders of the world. We have Mr. Putin, we have Mr. Trump, we have our very own Narendra Modi ji, and we have the Chinese Premier, Jinping. How do you compare these 4 leaders? Of course, there was also Benjamin at Israel, who, of course, was a different kind of leader. He was a very aggressive person. He is an aggressive person. But these 4 leaders, now what do you talk about them? What do you think about them? Are they really leaders? Are they leaders of different types? Are they leaders which will motivate, which will take their countries to the next level? Or are they just managing? So there is a difference. Now, let me ensure and understand what is the difference between leadership and management. What is management? Management is the ability to ensure that a vehicle keeps running. What does it mean? It means you will provide fuel into a vehicle and the vehicle will continue to run as long as the tires are fine, as long as the brakes are fine, as long as the battery is fine, everything works. But what happens? What happens when there is a breakdown? What happens when there's a traffic jam? What happens when the driver becomes unconscious? That is where you are not managing. Then you have to take charge. You have to ensure that the vehicle continues to run, and that is where the skills of leadership will come into play. Let me give you another example. An example like you have an organization, and that organization has appointed you as the CEO. Now, as the CEO, you have certain targets. But are those targets the only thing that you should meet and overcome? I'm sorry, that is management. Because you've been given a target, you have performed well, you have achieved the target. That's your role. That's what management and managers are all about. What's leadership? Leadership is when you define targets. Leadership is when you become the company. Leadership is when you own the organization. Leadership is when you take the entire group ahead to the next level. So these are little things which have a little difference. What else do we understand by leadership? There are terms. There are all sorts of things that you will understand and you will come across when you study a book on leadership. You will understand the kind of leaders, the styles of leaders. The styles and kinds will confuse you from time to time. Let me bring some clarity into that in the next modules. But here, there are several terms. A term like charismatic leader, dictatorial leader. All these are terms that you will come across, and the glossary. There's a handout that I will hand out to you. You will understand through the handouts the meaning of those terms. But suffice it to say that in this session, we want to understand what the terms mean. What is leadership? What is management? What is tactical? What is strategic? What is the ability to create leaders? What is charismatic? What is great man leadership? What is a trait kind of leadership? What is a situational leadership? Let me put an example to you. I'm sure many of you remember we had several captains of the Indian cricket team, starting with the Nawab of Pataudi, who was quite a charismatic and a young leader. He was barely 21 years old when Nari contractor was felled by a Charlie Griffith ball in West Indies, and a young Pataudi had to take charge of the team immediately. What was the next? He continued with the team, but he was a Nawab. He was a Nawab. He wanted to be treated like a Nawab, and that's how it happened. He would not run after a ball to chase it to the boundary. He would only chase the ball which he knew he would catch. He would not run for every ball. He would not give his 100% in areas where he was not perfectly sure of winning. Then came the next captains. Ajit Wadekar, who led a team to win in West Indies and in England. But there was a downfall very soon. Then came Sunil Gavaskars, then came the Bedis and everybody else. But then came one gentleman called Sourav Ganguly, who you know as the Dada. You remember the time when at Lord's we won that fantastic match where Sourav Ganguly took out his shirt and waved it, bare-chested Sourav Ganguly. He had announced to the world that the Indian cricket has arrived. That was leadership. It was leadership of taking away from the winning and losing of cricket games to creating a stamp on the world of cricket. As if that was not enough, we had a gentleman called Mahendra Singh Dhoni. And what did Dhoni do? Dhoni at one point in time led a team which had several ex-captains within it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a leader who is a leader of leaders? His team had a lot of former captains. And Captain Cool was a great finisher. He was never angry on this field. He was always controlled. Now, all these leaders have taken the Indian cricket to the level that it has reached today. You know what level it is? We are controlling world cricket. A game which was alien to us, a game where prior to 1975, we used to lose everything. 1971, we used to lose everything and be happy about it. And we'd say, oh, sportsman spirit. Today, it's not about sportsman spirit. It's about winning. It's about being champions. You can see what we're doing at T20, what we're doing in one days, we're doing with the Kohlis and the Rohits. We are excelling. And why are we excelling? We're excelling because of our leaders. The cricket world of India has seen great leaders. Now, this is just to give you an example about the kind of leadership that exists. The last 10 years of Indian economy has seen major upswing. Major upswing. We've reached a stage where very soon we shall be the third largest economy in the world and we are running at the fastest pace. What has changed? Has the Indian population changed? Has industry started to deliver more? Has manufacturing taken an upswing? Or has service sector just boomed? And how did it happen? 10 years ago, we were in very, very dire states. What has happened? Just one thing, and that is change of leadership. And the kind of leadership that you are witnessing, where Narendra Modi, our Prime Minister, what is he doing? He is believing in himself and he is making the country believe that we can do it. He is not bowing down to pressures from the external world. He is ensuring that he has a path chalked out. He is going on a path of glory to achieve what no man in India has achieved before. I'm not saying that uh, party politics and all that thing is any less or any more. It's all about leadership. It's all about the winning way. It's all about trying to take yourself to the next level. Now, when it comes to leadership, what do? We can't lead without a team, can we? So you need a team. You need a group. And within a group, you need a leader. You need a leader to ensure that the group works in the direction of forwardness. The direction which has been decided not just by the leader alone, but the entire stakeholders. All the stakeholders decide that this is the direction to follow, and they elect a leader, and the leader decides and builds his team. Just like cricket, like politics, like any organization, like a college. Every vice chancellor builds his team. Every director builds his faculty. Everybody builds his team. Now, what are the group dynamics? Now, let me tell you. And let's talk about real world dynamics. Real world dynamics are: you have a team. The team will have all sorts of politicking. The team will have all sorts of differences. The team will have backbiting. The team will have infighting. The team will have all those things that are human. And if it didn't happen, then believe me, it would not be human. How do I resolve that? Now, this is where the leader comes into play. So, suppose you are a leader and you have a team where two members are fighting over the same resource. Both of them want a particular classroom, for instance, and there is confusion, and they say, oh, my team, my students want to enter this classroom because I have a session. And now you don't know what to do. You have to resolve this. So this is called conflict resolution. This is a term that, please, you understand. Leaders will always be conflict resolvers. And how do they do that? They do that by entering into dialogue. They do that by entering into a negotiation. They do that by actually discussing with both the parties and creating a win-win situation from a win-lose game. So you understand? Leaders are conflict resolvers. Leaders are fantastic negotiators. So, as a corollary, please understand that leadership requires that you understand and learn these skills. These are skills which you'll have to have. Now, taking the example of those two very gentlemen who came to you for sharing of resource. What do you do first? Do you start shouting? No. If you start shouting, you probably will end up creating more conflict than was before. So the first thing you want to do is listen. And this art of listening is what is the most crucial art in any leadership skill. Art of listening. You have to develop. And believe me, there's nothing wrong in developing feedback mechanisms. Feedback mechanisms are indirect ears. You are listening, but probably through somebody else's ears. So it's all about listening. You have 5 senses, and use all your 5 senses other than the extrasensory perception, because perception is the final sense of a leader. But other than that, all the other 5 senses that God Almighty has endowed upon us should be used. We should speak, we should see, we should smell, we should feel, and we should speak. But each one of these senses should be used at the appropriate moment. And the most important one is our ears. Keep your ears to the ground and you will listen to the stories that are otherwise untold. You will come to know about facts which will not be reflected in any report or any piece of paper. So this is something that you would have to handle. There is another thing that you will always have trouble in, and the trouble is trust. Trust is a big word. Trust is something not easy to handle. trust is not something easy to build. How may I give you an example of trust? All right. Many of you are married and have children. Remember when your toddler was barely 4 months old or 5 months old, and you picked him up and threw him into the air. He did not cry. He was laughing. He was grinning. You know why? Because he trusted you that you would not let him fall to the ground. That is trust. So, can you build that trust in your team? That whatever they do, you would stand by them. That's the trust the leader has to develop in his team. Today, if there is an American president, Mr. Trump, has he been able to build trust amongst the Americans? Well, question mark, leave it up to you to determine that. So, do you call him a good leader? Again, this is a question, I leave it up to you to decide. And then on the other hand, there are leaders like Narendra Modi. You trust them. You trust them, don't you? Yes, there will be naysayers, there will be a lot of people who will oppose, but the basic fundamental question is trust. How do you build trust? You build trust by displaying. You build trust by actually making things happen, and you build trust by being there when the team needs you. That's all you need. You don't need to do great, giant kind of yeoman work. You just need to do small little things for your team to understand that you are behind them. And once this happens, then you have to ensure that each member of the team trusts everybody else as well. That's the greatest leader, who can ensure that the team is cohesive and trusts each other. There will be disagreement. There will be disagreement. If it's human beings and two human beings cannot think in the same manner, disagreements will be there. And when there are disagreements, please ensure that you manage that disagreement. A good leader manages disagreement. There's a lot of things that talked about India and even the rest of the world. There is something called diversity. What is diversity? Today, teams like Microsoft, Intel, Google, they have a mandate. They have a mandate from their stakeholders, they have a mandate from their shareholders, they have the mandate from their bosses, Mr. Pichai, Mr. Nadella, whoever else. And the mandate is, your team must be diverse. What does that mean? It means, starts with gender diversity. So you have today 5% women in your workforce, increase that to 10, 20, 30 till you reach that parity level. Leadership also should have lots of diversity. At the same time, diversity has got even other connotations. Teams such as these multinationals which I just mentioned believe that you should have multi-continental diversity. That means there must be Indians, Europeans, Americans, Asians, Africans, and everybody in a working team. And you understand how difficult it can be? Imagine a Chinese worker talking to a Tamilian worker in their accents. I mean, nightmare, isn't it? But that is what leadership is all about. You have to ensure that communication channel where the Chinese very easily understands the Tamilian's English and vice versa. That is leadership. What else is a component there? There is another component. It's called social loafing. Now, what do you do by social loafing? It's a term. Let me explain the term. Social loafing means there is more beyond the workplace. And what's that? That's life. Life is not just confined to the four walls of your office or your organization. Life is well beyond that. So leaders should interact with their teams even outside the workplace. Probably be connected to them on LinkedIn, be connected to them on social media, be connected to them at social events so that you understand what their life is. Because if a leader is unable to maintain the work life balance of the team, I'm afraid you're not going to last very long. You're just not going to last very long. There are people, there are people you've seen who've gone to the top but get toppled very easily because they did not listen to the little sounds that were coming from the team. So, we end this session with having understood who is a leader, what is a leader, types of leaders that exist in the world today, from the world of cricket and from the world of politics, geopolitics, and we figured out what does a leader need to do, what does a leader have to have attributes about. In our next session, we will try and understand what kind of leaders are there, what kind of leadership theories are there, because somewhere around the corner, people will ask you about theories. Yes, there are many theories, and there are theories and theories and theories. But you should be armed with the basics to understand what is leadership theory. So, thank you all for listening in, and we will meet the next time all over again. Begin the next.